Hello everybody, Mark and Eric back for another video.
Yeah, we're back.
On the Hunkered in the Bunker YouTube channel. And
There's the bunker.
Today I would like to start off with a flat earth topic. So a friend of mine had an estate clean out and gave me a bunch of stuff to either keep or sell on eBay. And one of them was this White and Wyckoff stationery set, which is very interesting. It was for airmail pieces. And this was a stationery company out of Holyoke, Massachusetts. Very successful, starting in the mid to later 1800s. And the cover of this box is one of the most excellent flat earth maps I've ever seen. See that? By White and Wyckoff. But what's very interesting about it is how Antarctica is depicted as completely encircling the rest of the globe, instead of on world maps, modern world flattened maps that shows it. That usually doesn't show it, or shows it as, you know, a continent. But what's interesting is all the way around, it doesn't just show it as a nondescript border. It shows detail of the coast of the surrounding Antarctic land. Detail. Even some names and labels of places, okay? And tell me how that could be sort of interpreted to be the outer coast of an Antarctic continent at the bottom of a globe, when it shows the entire borderline around the whole Earth with coastline details and labels of places. Okay? So this was done probably in the late 1800s, possibly early 1900s. And it's by a company called White and Wyckoff, and I have some detail on them. White and Wyckoff Manufacturing Company, which began as Smith and White until Joseph Wyckoff joined the firm in 1893. They manufactured specialty paper products for business and retailers across the country. During the 20s, they operated the largest printing plant in Holyoke, Massachusetts. The White and Wyckoff collection documents over 75 years of the personal, administrative, and operational progress of this local and lucrative stationery company. And it goes into some of their history.
Does it say where it was made?
Holyoke, Massachusetts.
What year?
It doesn't have a year on it, but based on their...
do you know the map was made in Buffalo in 1892 by Gleason?
But I don't think this is a Gleason map.
No?
No.
Why?
It doesn't look like it to me. It seems different, but maybe it is a Gleason map.
Well, if you show the people again, it has... this is supposedly from like a U.S. mail or something?
This was a box of stationery.
Okay.
For airmail correspondence.
For round the world airmail. Okay, so if you show them again, it has plane flights in red. They look like scribbles on the map. And that's the plane flights, I guess, because it's airmail, round the world airmail. But it's really across the world airmail. And those lines aren't really curved. They're straight. So maybe you're right, Mark. I mean, it looks like a Gleason map. Why would they use anything different if it's so much like a Gleason map? Why would it be anything different?
Well, it might be a Gleason map.
On a Gleason, on any map, on the flat Earth, you don't fly. There's no way to fly in a straight line, really, because even if you think if you're going to fly around the equator and you think you're flying in a straight line, it's not. It's a complete circle. And in no point in a circle is there a straight line.
What, on a globe?
Yeah, yeah, even in a circle. Okay, if you're going to fly around the world, what you're going to do is you're going to go from point to point, and the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line.
But you can fly a straight line on a flat surface.
Yeah.
Which this is.
Yeah, and if you're going over sea, a lot of times it has to go over the North Pole, because the North Pole is the middle and a straight line is the closest distance.
Right. But I guess my point is.
Hold on, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
If you think that a plane keeps on dipping down, it keeps on dipping down. Where am I here? The plane keeps on dipping down, right? Well, that's not a straight line, because a straight line is like this. It keeps going straight. And if you keep going straight, you go into outer space. And
well, your elevation would continue to increase.
You would have to, on a plane, you would always have to be readjusting to the curve, especially at those speeds. So what happens is you would have to slow down. And in order to slow down, they got to put the brakes on the wings. And when that happens, everybody feels it. But nobody ever feels that.
Yes. So here we have, an example of a mainstream stationary manufacturer utilizing a flat Earth map, perhaps the Gleason map, as the focal cover artwork for an airmail stationary set. And maybe at the end of the video we can show a very, instead of the probably difficult to see image that we just put in front of the camera, a still shot of it that we can add at the end of the video, which I will attempt to do. But just when I saw it, I was incredulous. Something like this would not be used.
The interesting thing too is here it has time zones around basically in the Antarctic. It has what hour it is, according to where the sun is on the flat Earth. But I'm pretty sure that this, if it's not, then it's just a representation of the Gleason map, which was actually not done by, I think his name was Alex Gleason. It was actually, I think it was the British guy Cook, who was sanctioned by the Queen to sail the Antarctic. And I think that's actually his map, or maybe before. But of course, he was working.
When did he sail?
1700s, I believe.
Captain Cook?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always an interesting story.
He's taking his mapping off of even the maps that he was using, because this is the map that he supposedly made. Okay, so this map goes along because although he did come up everything is a straight line, right? When he got back to England, there, he went up the coast. And when he left, he went down the coast of Africa, sailed around, and then came up the coast of the. He knew. They all know. They all know. They sailed down. They hit south. They make a left, and they never stop going left. They never stop going left until they get back to where they started.
And the idea was to survey the coastline of Antarctica, which no one anticipated that it would take 60,000 nautical miles for him to come back to the same spot that he had marked and started from. Because according to what we're told, the total Antarctic coastline is how long?
11,000 something.
Just minuscule.
11,000 miles, and 60,000 plus were logged. So that's, more than 5 times the amount of space. And
what's the explanation of that, non-flat earther? I mean, seriously. So I love this map. And just one last point. If somebody would say that this is a flattened representation of the globular Earth model, the spherical Earth model, then if you took that flat map and made it, put it back into the shape of a globe, what would happen to that completely surrounding Antarctic perimeter. Well, what it would be is an opening of water at the pole with this circle around it again. And where would the other ends, the other side of this white surrounding ice mass go? You know, on a globe, because it would have to come to an end somehow.
It meets itself on the other side. But they never did that. They never did the
But again, even
circumnavigation from north to south to back north again.
Even if it met itself on the other side, you know, that's not. If it did meet itself on the other side, that could be depicted. It would be depicted on a globe. So it's inverted, is what I'm saying. So, you know, what they would say is these coastline details are would be the perimeter of the.
That was Captain Cook's exploration. He basically put Antarctica on the map.
Mm-hmm. But it's just so clear that it surrounds the rest of the land masses and oceans of the Earth, and that is what is shown here. And, you know, the continents are shaped and sized differently than what we're used to as well. You know, look how wide South America is. You know, the distance from east to west, or west to east of South America on this map is greater than the distance between the east and west coast.
Those places are huge, which is suspicious.
Of North America, you know, maybe by 1.5 times.
Well, on the Gleason map, it says that this is something that you can practically use. It says it's practical, right. And it says it's
this is
scientific.
What I would go by. This is what I would go by in traveling the Earth if I had the means to do that.
It's interesting, too, that the U.S. Airmail uses the flat Earth map because so does all the militaries. So does all the militaries. They all use this, the geographic, the geologic, whatever.
Geocentric.
Everything is on the flat Earth map. Everything except for hey, did you guys ever see the video about if you flip the globe over on its base and it's crooked on that 66.6 degree angle, which is really 23.4 in reverse. But on the bottom of it, it says not for educational use. Well, what did they show you? What did they show us? You know, they showed us the globe. They spun it around. They said, this is where you live. This is where this happened. This is where that happened. Here's where these are. And all of it is just bunk. It's not a globe. It's not a globe, and it's not for educational use, because you're not getting an education when you go to school. You're getting an indoctrination. You're getting propaganda. You're getting what they want you to believe, not what necessarily is true. And in that respect, that's why they spend so much time teaching you things that there's no way you can prove.
Clearly, you know, even if you're on the fence, and it certainly took me a long time to be convinced, or a relatively long time, everything's relative, but there are so many things to be called into question about the heliocentric model. And if you're honest with yourself and you try to look into it, even just earlier I was looking at a site that ridiculed the flat Earth theory, the flat Earth worldview. But I read through the entire thing, and all it could say is that these flat earthers just refuse to accept science, and
science fiction. We refuse to accept science fiction.
Yeah, and there's a growing number of flat Earth, very well constructed, intelligent arguments that actually adhere much more closely to the scientific method of, you know, making observations. You know, creating a hypothesis and then being able to reproduce the results consistently. Really adhering to the scientific method as it is accepted much more closely than the belief system that modern day accepted scientism puts forth. That's my statement on that. So, I consider myself not just a crazy fanatical flat earther that adheres to some crazy faith-based nutty concept. Take a look at any aspect of it. Now, when you go to the curvature question, it seems like the globe Earth people just rely almost exclusively on their concept of light refraction. What do you say about that, Eric? They say light bends around the globe.
Well, that's where Einstein's theory of relativity comes in, because that's what he said, light bends because space bends. But my question is, well, if space is nothing, then what's bending? What's bending? Nothing's bending. What?
It has to have a medium to travel through, is what you're saying.
Light? Light has to have a medium, to travel through.
Which is wave.
What Tesla was calling the ether.
Right.
But light bending is still just a theory. Theory of relativity is, has to do with light bending in space, because space bends because of gravity. And so everything you see there is reverse engineered, because Einstein was after Newton, but what Newton said was because of what Einstein was saying. And it's all just reverse. It's reverse engineered. It's constructed for our demise, and that's why they taught it to us, because we would be stuck. We would not understand things like anti-gravity or free energy.
Well, basically,
and those are the things that are in play. Those are the things that are veiled by the lies that they teach us, so that we never bother to look. And then they make us go out and work, and we basically got to work like more than the common man used to work, because we need to take care of things, and so we just never really have the opportunity to think for ourselves, and when we do, we don't know what to clutter our minds with, and so we find ourselves in this paradox of growing old and never really understanding what the hell's going on.
We get too soon old and too late smart.
Right?
So, yeah,
I don't know where else we can go, but we're pretty much convinced that the Earth is flat, and whether it, everyone says to me, well, flat Earth is a psyop. Well, of course it is, but that doesn't mean it's not true. Okay, whatever they want to try to do with it. Listen, whenever they let the internet out, they knew that it was going to come to truths like, hey guys, guess what? The Earth is flat. Okay, but it's all about, well, I'm not going to change the world. I'm going to change my world. My world did change, and it changed, I guess, dramatically. But it's all within the brain, and that's because I'm out of the box, and I can see that there actually was a box that held me in for a long time, 40 years, or at least 20 years. But truth comes in increments, and nobody can receive it all at once. But even this stuff, which sounds crazy and bizarre, is cutting edge in a way, but not really, because it's been around forever. There's always been people that have thought the Earth was flat and stationary. Our perception is from the world we were brought up in. And our parents consented to government manipulation of our brains at a young age. And you can't even blame your parents, because they were brought up by people who also were manipulated to such a degree. And all of this stuff is documented. It's written. If you ever want to go research for real, you will. And maybe you have already. If you're watching at this point, then you have already. So, this is preaching to the choir. And And there's really, in that case, there's no need for you and me.
But it's interesting, getting back to Einstein, that's what he had to do to make everything that he became famous for work, is to just eliminate the ether. That's what he had to do.
Well, that's why he prevailed, Tesla lays by the wayside, But, don't get Tesla confused with the Tesla cars. Listen, these guys, these Bill Gates, these Elon Musks, they're all frauds, they're all puppets, they're people on a stick. That's all they are. And they move their mouth. One hand holds a stick and the other hand moves the mouth. Don't be deceived. These people are puppets. They're nothing more than a freaking hot dog on a stick. I mean, put a little makeup on a pig, and this Miss Piggy, okay? This is the type of characters you're dealing with. There's no such thing as space. There's no such thing as space travel. There's no such thing as anything going into orbit. We've been deceived. We've been deceived for a reason, and the reason is worth looking into. What does anything matter? I don't know. I mean, doesn't truth matter? I mean, don't you have kids? What matters? What are you teaching them? Whatever the school teaches them? What are you telling them? Whatever is ordained by so-and-so who you've never met and have no idea their ties to any kind of secret societies or cults or whatever? I mean, people, do your research. You don't need to get your kids vaccinated. They're not even kids. Kids is a Arabic word for goat or something, right? I mean, that's what a kid is, right? Is that an English word for goat?
Yeah.
A kid?
Yeah.
I mean, what's a goat? What's a goat? I mean, it's, it's the scapegoat.
A goat is a symbol of Satan.
It is.
It stands for greatest of all time.
He wishes.
Well, that's what his adherents believe.
I have a friend that has a theory, and I kind of agree with him, that he's so deluded in his own pride that he thinks he's actually going to win. Even though he fell once and fell again, and he keeps on falling. For some reason, he's so deluded. And you know what? He was created greater than we were. And he is a greater being than we are. But God deemed us greater than Satan. Greater than his angels. That's what we were deemed. And I choose to believe that, especially on a flat earth, because if you got a flat earth, that means you don't have a solar system, and the solar system anyways comes from the Big Bang. So, I mean, what does that leave? That leaves that we're not really like anywhere. We're just in a realm, We're in a realm. We're in a realm that's flat and possibly endless. We don't know. We don't know.
Think of the...
we don't know, and it's okay to admit that we don't know. I mean, there are things that we don't know, but we do know that the Earth is flat because it's been proven. Oh,
that reminds me.
What hasn't been proven is the globe.
Right, that has not been proven. The proof they offer is, well, we've seen it from space. That can and has been all faked. Or the laws of physics, which are just made up and rely on non-scientifically founded things. But the what was I going to say? It reminds me. I lost it.
Sorry, I might have fucked you up there. Oops. Shouldn't say fuck.
No. All right, everybody.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you for watching. And
later, Steve.
Hi, Steve. We have many more interesting topics, and we are trying to prepare a little bit more and still be spontaneous and conversational.
Now, we were doing more work over here. One way or another, we got a bunch of shit done. And before I go, this is a signing off. This was for Steve and anyone else, you handful of a dozen people out there. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.